Wouldn't it be better just to like plan the stuff out ahead of time and make sure it's funny and then not say it in front of people and embarrass yourself?
That's stand-up comedy?
That's probably what you should do because that stuff's funny.
Hey, have you ever had this feeling? So what do? I am an actor. Ah, I don't know you, so you're not famous, so you're probably lousy and in poverty. So what do? I am an improviser. Ah, so you're not good enough to be an actor and not funny enough to be a comedian. No, but I mean like for a living. It might be a bit of a stretch, but for most people, actor it's a job, improviser it's a hobby, or a lower kind of actor. And today we're going to see why we have this feeling. Any experienced improviser has certainly heard this compliment after a show. It was so good it felt like it was not improvised. And I want to ask you, how is that a compliment? Is the ultimate goal of improv to be some kind of imitation of straight theater? It's a bit of a weird compliment. But now if you tell me after a play, it was so good I thought you were improvising, well that would be a real compliment. So is it a cognitive bias or is there some kind of truth behind this belittling feeling? Let's start with some facts. In average, a ticket for a play costs between $30 and $60, while for an improv show, it's more around $15 to $20. It's a rough average. You can also see very famous troupes in France for $8 and shows of the best league of Montreal for $10. So why is there such a gap? Because it does impact the prestige of improv. An answer could be, well, that's because it's improvised, so you're never sure it's gonna be good. And I will reply,
it's better though from Nigeria.
20 minutes to go in Curitiba. Nigeria trying desperately to break the deadlock. Musa.
I'm not saying that the world is full of retards who prefer to watch 22 suckers on a grass field while drinking gallons of beer, but the uncertainty of the quality of a performance doesn't really explain the wage gap between football players and the best improvisers in the world. So let's figure out what makes this salary, which means we need to break down the price of a theater ticket. For a ticket that costs $100, 1/3 goes to the rental of the theater, around 15 go to the decor and costumes, even if it varies a lot if you do a classic play or a contemporary one. 10 go to the logistics, 10 for marketing, 5 for the light and sound design, 5 for the legal stuff, 10 is split between actors and director, knowing that a director is approximately paid twice more than an actor, the rest goes to the production. Okay, it's really not easy to estimate because it depends a lot on the number of shows that you are going to do. And like any cultural product, it's mostly a fixed cost structure. So the more you play, the lower the proportion of this cost and the more profit you make. Now, if you compare that to a ticket of an improv show, well, you can remove the part for costumes and decor, which are often quite minimalistic, dramatically reduce the logistics, remove the director cost, and mingle the profit and the actor's salary since most of the shows are self-productions. The costs are twice lower. So with the same price, improvisers should make a lot of money. But we've seen that the price difference is almost equivalent to the cost gap. So in proportion, improvisers make the same benefit. But in absolute value, of course, it's much lower. So why is there such a price difference? Do improvisers give away their extra benefit just because they are kind-hearted people? No, of course not. They simply can't sell at a higher price. Why? Some will answer saying, people pay for the decor, the costumes and everything else. Every part of the play brings a bit of margin, on one hand to hedge the risk, on the other hand to make more money. The more spectacular the show, the more you invest in the technical and material aspects. The higher the price of the ticket and, mechanically, the higher the benefits. And I will reply,
so I took one little tiny hit. I was insane. I was completely insane. I was in my house. I couldn't even walk past the window. I had to go.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
But in every group of girlfriends, there's always like one that's the sluttiest. You know, if you don't have that friend, you're that friend. Let's be real.
So you can't explain the price of a ticket like this. What makes a price is not the cost, it's the offer and demand. So what I've just shown you doesn't reply to that question. However, it gives us a very interesting insight. If you don't make a lot of money, you can't lose a lot either. Technically, you can make an improv show for zero initial investment. It's way harder with a play. And this has a first consequence. It's pure logic. If failing doesn't cost a thing, then you can do it as much as you want. It's not the case for stand-up comedy because when you don't make an audience laugh while you're on stage alone, well, it puts off a lot of people. But you do retrieve that aspect with performance poetry, where failure doesn't cost a thing either. Because even if you're alone and if your poem sucks, you're not confronted to the same severity of the audience.
I've got an idea for a TV show. It's a legal drama about a lawyer called Cole. I'm going to call it Cole's Law. He'll get paid a good salary.
Not as much. And it's a bit the same with YouTube. While an actor or director will quickly run out of job if he sucks, a bad improviser can keep being bad as long as he wants because it doesn't cost him a thing, not even time. He can show up to rehearsals whenever he wants, that's how you spot them, and still end up on stage by chance. While when you are doing a play and rehearsing day after day for weeks or months, it has a real impact. That's why the ratio between amateurs and pros is higher in improv compared to straight theater. And well, this mediocrity damages the reputation of improv and levels down the average quality of the show. Okay, so I need to talk about Porter's curve, an American economist who, in short, described a model to predict the profit of a product depending on its price. It sounds very obvious, but actually what it describes is a U-shaped curve saying either you sell few but at a high price, like in the luxury industry, either you sell with a very small margin but you sell a lot, just like a supermarket. And the worst that can happen is to be stuck in the middle, because you can't improve your margins without justification, and it doesn't make sense to reduce them if you can't sell more. As we have seen before, theater is a bit of a luxury. Plays that get to be played a lot increase the margin with each performance, but not improv. Margins are the same for each show, and they are lower than the straight theater margins. And you can't make 100 shows per day. The quantity you can sell is quickly limited, so improv is stuck in the middle. That's why the greatest improvisers don't earn the salaries of the greatest actors. It has nothing to do with their talent, it's just a matter of business model. And we all know that in today's society, if a discipline doesn't make people filthy rich, it won't become prestigious. And you can tell that the wealthiest improvisers mostly do performances that you can review, which goes a bit against the ephemeral aspect of improv, but mostly it increases the value of each show, because each new broadcast costs almost nothing, but brings money. By the way, note that behind every episode of Whose Line Is It Anyway, there are 3 hours of recording, but you only keep the best 20 minutes, which is a bit cheating. But it makes sure that the quality is there, and remove this problem of the uncertainty of the quality of the performance. Also, it explains why 95% of the improv videos you can find online don't really work. Of course, there is often the bad technical quality, but also they don't remove the failures after editing. And most importantly, the involvement effect. Studies have shown that when you watch the broadcast of a match, even if you don't know the score or whatever, you don't enjoy it as much if it's not a live broadcast. Because the viewers truly think that they have an influence on the match, even if they are in front of a TV. In improv, it's the same. Watching improv not live, well, it doesn't work very well. It works for UCB or Whose Line Is It Anyway, because most of the viewers are watching it as a replay. And the quality is guaranteed. But mostly, they make sure that improv becomes an event. And as we have seen before, to make improv more attractive, either you need to make it more available, which is hard if you don't go through the television media, either you have to make it more of a luxury. And well, improv has nothing of a limited edition, because everything is unique. And this singularity is independent from the quality of the improvisations. In other words, improv is not unique because it's good, it's unique because it just is. In comparison, a play is an event. You know that there will be a limited amount of performances, and there is a whole acting preparation behind that goes from a few weeks to a few months. You see that a lot in straight theater. You are going to tell your friends, "I've been working on this play for 6 months now. Come see me, bro." While in improv you're preparing all the time, but you can't really say, "I've been preparing for 3 years now, come see me." Even with the cinema, the blockbusters are mostly event movies, sequels, new superheroes, etc, etc. The main proof is that we criticize Hollywood for its lack of originality, and for proposing only reboot and sequels and spin-offs. Because, well, it works. That's something Johnston and Gravel perfectly understood. They have created formats inspired by sports so that every show becomes an event. That's also why we invite guests, to make the show really unique. But you can't always make competitive formats and invite guests all the time. So improv is not an event and lose a bit of prestige. But it's not the only problem, because you could still have some artistic prestige despite all that. A bit like the ice sculptors, who probably don't make a lot of money but are always quite impressive. I talked about stand-up comedy before. I'm going to show you how stand-up comedians sell their show. Hey, it's Ellie Taylor. Look at me, I look fabulous. Hey, it's Sean Patton. I'm just chilling here. Yo, it's Chris Rock and I look like James Bond. Hey, it's Papa CJ. My show is called Naked, so I'm naked. And it's Russell Brand, and I look like the Che of stand-up comedy. Now I'm going to show you how improvisers sell their show. It's gonna be so cool, we make weird faces. Whoa, it's so weird, I'm so crazy, I put my shirt on top my head. There's so many people on stage, there we use Photoshop and we have a baby crying and we're using blue hair. You can't help but notice that you're often sold the promise of a big fat mess. That's how you know it's a bad show. Improv doesn't take itself seriously, or doesn't care about its image. Improv has a weird way to deal with its own image. Did you notice that if you only do vaudeville, you're an actor? If you only do drama, you're an actor. If you only do absurd theater, you are a weird actor, but an actor nonetheless. But if you do improv theater, you're an improviser. As if you couldn't act. And it's true that... even though there are a lot of great actors coming from the improv scene. So why?
I always, to be honest with you, I always feel like I get the closest I can get to the character on the last day of shooting, on the last take.
First, getting character, it takes time. Even the greatest actors need weeks or months to get in character. And for some of them, they have studied exclusively method acting for years. Improv asks you to do it immediately. That's very ambitious. I'm going to take the example of the match format, even if I will talk about it in another episode. What do we propose? We're going to play a Shakespeare, a speechless scene, a scene combining 4 movie genres transposed to the theater, a rhymed scene, and all that is gonna be good. Whoa! Which means that if we were to ask actors, with a text, to prepare a show based on only one of these categories, they would have to rehearse for weeks and have years of experience. A match is quite ambitious. So, of course, the acting is going to suck and you will see more caricatures than characters. Think about it. Go watch a show and ask yourself when a Shakespeare looked like a Shakespeare. I'm not even talking about the Tarantino scenes or the contemporary theater scenes, which often turns into a childish mess. What's more, most beginners make their first step on stage with this kind of format. And these people often don't come from theater schools, they have another educational background. So we get the least experienced improvisers to play the hardest format ever. Even the professionals struggle with this format. So at a very young age you learn that not fulfilling your contract in improv, it's fine. That caricature is okay, that bad acting is almost normal. You even find this in Whose Line, which completely goes for the gaggy buffoon stuff. Because we wanted to play the angel, we played the beast. And since all these problems survive easily, improv gets associated to cheap laughs. Just look at the way improvisers are interviewed. They are asked to do improv scenes just like this, without any preparation or warm-up, as if they were jokes dispensers.
C'est parfait.
Ok, alors disons une bataille ultime entre 4 super-héros, mais doués de super-pouvoirs absolument débiles.
Comedians, and especially actors, are treated more fairly. The jokes are prepared, they are asked to say their favorite lines, but never to play a full scene. Another evidence of the weird way most media look at improv can be found in some documentaries and blog articles. If they show all the values and virtues of improv, at the end of the day, they cannot tell you that a successful improviser is someone who became a stand-up comedian, a teacher, a real actor, well, anything but someone who does improv. Overall, it is seen as a way to be more self-confident, to be better with your dates, to become a better manager, to think quicker on your feet, to do serious stuff, but nothing with a real artistic impact. So, as a conclusion, is improv really a lower kind of theater? No, of course not. It's a great discipline, it's a very noble art, the improv theater. The problem is not the discipline, the problem is the business model, and some improvisers don't really care about the image they give. So if you want to make improv shine bright, respect the art, don't do improv just because you can fail for free. Don't get stuck in the middle. Bring more value to your performance, make sure your show is an event, and maybe try to record it. Finally, do take some risk, but don't be over-ambitious, and be very demanding with yourself. Alright, in the next episode, we will talk about the format The Herald. In the meantime, you can always comment, like, share, or subscribe to the channel. I'll see you soon. Go watch some improv, or even better, do some. Bye.